Hey everyone, Cedric from Vertex Marketing Agency, and in this video I'm going to show you how you can use Google Tag Manager and Google Sheet to create your own reporting tool. So what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to show you exactly how to send data from Google Tag Manager all the way to Google Sheet, and we're going to send things like timestamp, user information, and then the UTM data so that you know exactly when a new lead comes in and fills up the form on your website, which channel did it actually come from. And we're going to send all of that to a Google Sheet so that you can use that Google Sheet as a tool to understand which marketing campaign you should pause or which marketing campaign you should scale. So in this video, I'm going to share everything with you guys. And I'm also going to give you my Google Sheet that has been customized to actually accept information from Google Tag Manager. You guys are going to get all of that for free in this video. So I'm now inside my Google Tag Manager account. And if you don't have an account, it's completely free to create one. You just want to go to tagmanager.google.com. You're going to create a web container first. We're also going to create a server container, which I'll show you how to do that in just a second. But you're going to want to create a web container, and then once you see something like this, you can just click on this code here, and it's going to show you exactly how to install it on your website. Now, if you're watching this video, I hope that you have maybe just some basic understanding of Google Tag Manager, because if you don't, it might be a little bit too technical for you. But if you just understand what tags, triggers, and variables are, then you're completely fine. I'm going to give you everything else that you need in order to send data to Google Sheet. So the use case here is we're going to pretend that we're working with a service-based company, and they want to send data to Google Sheet when they get a new lead. So they want to maybe send the lead data, like the timestamp, when was that lead generated, first name, last name, email, phone number of the lead, and then some UTM data, like the UTM source, campaign, medium, and content. So in case you're not sure what UTMs are basically like a label you can add to your traffic or to your URL, so that when the user clicks that link and get to your website, we can actually identify where did that user come from. So for example, you have a Facebook ad, and maybe the UTM campaign is a campaign name of your marketing campaign inside Ads Manager, and then the medium is the ad set and the content is the ad name. You use a unique value to that campaign inside that URL, and sometimes you can even set up variables. And once the user click it, you can see, oh, well, this user or this specific traffic came from that specific campaign, ad set, or ad. So you can actually know what to pause and what to potentially scale. So those are what UTMs are. And really, again, the use case here is you want to send that data to Google Sheet so you can properly analyze your marketing data and actually see the raw data. Because in tools like Ads Manager or Google Analytics, inside of Google Sheet, when we're passing the first name, last name, email, and phone number, you'll actually be able to see who they are. And if you have a CRM, you'll potentially go inside your CRM and see what's going on. Another thing that you could potentially use this tool for is just troubleshooting or creating a log to kind of see what is the data being sent to Facebook or Google Analytics for. So I recommend that whatever is your lead trigger that you're using to send the data to Google Sheet, right? So when this happens, then sends the data to my Google Sheet. I recommend that you have that same trigger for both Facebook and GA4, so that if ever you go inside Ads Manager, like, oh my God, like we are over reporting or potentially under reporting, you're actually going to be able to see exactly what is the data being sent, because you're going to be able to see the raw data inside that Google Sheet. So it's really good for two things. One of them is just like a good marketing tool. So you can use the Google Sheet to just do some reports. But then the thing is to troubleshoot and kind of create a log and see like what is the data that's actually being sent to those platforms. With that being said, now I'm just going to talk a little bit more about the tags, triggers, and variables. And once you understand that, I'm going to give you a link that you can just click and get this exact template completely free. But I believe you first need to understand a little bit just so you can maybe tweak a few things just to make it work a little bit better for your website. All right, so the first tag that we're going to talk about is this one right here. So send to Google Sheet. So that's actually what's sending the data to Google Sheet. What it's doing, it's actually going to be sending it to your GTM server container first, because we're going to be doing server to server tracking. So it's actually not sending it directly to Google Sheet. It's going to send it to a server that you own, and then from there, we're going to send it to Google Sheet. If what I just said doesn't make sense, don't worry. It's all going to make sense, or at least it's going to work once you have it all set up, as long as you follow everything that I'm showing in this video. So everything that you see that says update after import, those are things that you're going to want to update once you import the template. All right, but we're not there yet. I'm just walking you through the tags and triggers and variables. So event data, as I said, we're going to send first name, last name, email, phone number, then the UTM data. And then the trigger, that's going to be whenever they land on your thank you page. So if you don't have a thank you page, for example, they just submit the form and it's like, like a thank you message. I recommend that you create a thank you page, because if not, this might not work as well. But yeah, so create a thank you page, and then it's gonna work, and I'm gonna show you how to edit the trigger to make it work for your thank you page. Once we have that, we wanna do is send the data to what we call a data layer. So GTM works a lot with data layer, and you wanna send the user's email, phone number, first name, last name, and then all your UTM data to the data layer. The cool thing with the UTM data is I've actually made a variable that will automatically pull the UTM data for you, so you actually don't need to touch that. The only thing with the first name, last name, email, and phone number, unfortunately, you're gonna have to just change my variables a little bit, just because every form on the website will have like a different field name for like first name, last name, email, and phone number. So unfortunately, I wasn't able to make something that's like universal, that's gonna work for everyone. So you're gonna have to tweak that a little bit, but I'll show you how to do it, and you'll see it's pretty simple. But that's what's gonna send data to the data layer. And think about it as the data layer more of like a storage. Okay, so we're storing that information so that we can access it once they get to the thank you page, and then send it to our Google Sheet. Other thing here is we have a persist to DL. So what this does is that it persists the data layer on all page. So you don't really need to pay attention. You actually don't need to change this at all. It just needs to be added there and then publish, and then that's it. It's gonna work. But in case you're technical and you want to know what this does, it just basically persists the data layer on all page. So once the data layer gets submitted on the page where the form is, if they get to the thank you page, technically that data layer could be gone. So that's why we have this that will just persist it on all pages as long as the session doesn't end. So that's what this tag does. And then the last one that you are actually not going to need to change unless you want to make some modifications is a lead cookie. So the reason I have this tag right here is because what we're doing is we're sending a lead to the Google Sheet when they get on that thank you page. But from what I've found over the years is that the way that a lot of websites are built is that sometimes the user comes back to that thank you page, maybe because there's a video on that thank you page and they want to watch the video, or maybe once they submit the form, you send an email that says, hey, please click here to go watch the video. And when they click that link, it brings them back to the thank you page. And remember, what we're using as a trigger is when they visit and when they land on the thank you page. It's almost like a page view trigger. So as soon as they land on a thank you page, it sends the data to the Google Sheet. But we don't want to send too much data, meaning we don't want to send that same lead 10 times to the Google Sheet, because they go to the page multiple times, or maybe if they reload the page, right? So if a user reloads the page 10 times, well, if we don't add this tag, it's actually going to send the user's data 10 times to Google Sheet, and it's going to be just really, really messy. And if you want to do like something like a record count, you're going to have a lot of duplicate data. So this is a way to fix that. You don't need that, but I strongly recommend it. But I strongly recommend that because this is going to fix any over reporting. And by the way, if you are using Google Tag Manager for both Facebook and GA4 tracking, I actually recommend that you include that as part of your tracking, especially for Facebook. So what this does is this sets a cookie, and the cookie name is lead, the value is true, and then the days, this is where you can change it, but this basically means that this cookie is only going to be valid for 1 day. So this means that if they submit the form, they land on the thank you page, the cookie is going to get created, and then if they reload the page, or if they click the link and then come back to the page within 24 hours, it's not going to send that data again to the Google Sheet unless the cookie gets deleted somehow. So that's a pretty cool tag that avoids any over reporting. If you think 1 day is too short, you can just go here and let's say change it to 7 days, but I'm just going to leave it to 1 day. And if ever you don't want to do that, then just go ahead and delete that tag. And then outside of that, we actually don't need to change anything in this tag right here. The only thing that you potentially want to change is the days, but everything else are variables that are automatically going to work for your website. So I'm just gonna get out of here, and that's pretty much it for your tags. Now, if we just go to triggers, you're gonna see that all these tags are gonna be attached with triggers, and I'm gonna show you how to change the triggers to make it work for your website once we get into like the actual setup. And then same thing with variables. Inside these tags, there's gonna be some variables like the user's first name, last name, email, and phone number that you're gonna wanna just tweak to make it work for your company. But again, I'm gonna show you how to do all of that. Now it's time to set it all up. So you're gonna go in the description of this video, and you're gonna find this link right here. So this is where you can actually get my template. So there's going to be a video here when you watch it. You don't need to watch that again because that's actually this video that you're watching right here. I just edited there in case you lost the video. You're going to go ahead and fill up the form. Once you fill up this form, you're going to get 2 emails, but in the first email you're going to receive is my template for both the GTM web container and the GTM server, because you're gonna need the web container and a server container. And by the way, guys, we haven't created the server container yet. So if you don't have that, that's fine. But you're gonna need the server container, and you're also gonna need a special Google Sheet. Unfortunately, you can't just use a random Google Sheet that you create, because just normal Google Sheet can't take information from Google Tag Manager. So I had to modify the Google Sheet and add additional code. I'll show you exactly where that is once you have the template, but you need to, it's important that you use my Google Sheet or just download my template. If you want to use your own Google Sheet, just copy the code and bring it to your Google Sheet. No problem with that. But go ahead and fill up this form right here. Once you do that, you're going to receive 2 emails. The first email is to actually create your Stape server. So Stape is a service that you can use that creates servers for you. So it's a little bit different than like web hosting, right? Where you host your website where you need a server. This is a fully different server. So you need something like that in order to transport the data from Google Tag Manager to Google Sheet, right? So the data needs to be like hosted somewhere basically. So you need that server, and Stape just has, first of all, they have a free plan. And for a lot of you, that's probably going to be maybe all that you need, or they actually have a paid plan, but it's extremely cheap when you compare it to like Google Cloud servers, and it's also a lot easier to set up. So that's why we partnered with Stape, and we strongly recommend Stape versus any other server vendors out there for, again, cost and also how easy it is to set up. So go ahead. I've already created my account. That's why we see a set password option, but you're gonna probably see a button here that says like get started, and you're gonna receive another email, and that's the email right here. So this email is going to contain both the GTM template and also the Google Sheet template. So you're going to start with the Get GTM template. Just hit the 3 buttons right here and click download. Now it's important that when it's downloading, you want to download it as a .json file. It cannot be any other format like a TXT, because if you download that as a TXT, it's just not going to work. So it needs to be as a .json. If ever you download the template and it downloads as the .txt, that's not an issue with a template, or it's not an issue with anything that we're doing. That's most likely something that has to be fixed with your computer, like in terms of your preferences of how it downloads files. It decided to convert it to a .txt. So it's important it's a .json. And then this one here, when we're downloading it, this one is also going to download as a .json, okay? So you want to download those 2 files, then go back to the email and then click on Get Google Sheet Template. And it's pretty simple. You want to make a copy. So don't request access, just go ahead and make a copy. And once you make a copy, you're going to see something like this. And the way this works is that you have all your columns here. Please do not change your columns. I'm gonna show you real quick how you can potentially change your columns. But if you just change the columns without changing the code, it's not gonna work. So here are all the columns, and then this is where the values would get added. It would just create a new row. Now the thing that's cool and unique with this Google Sheet is when you go to the app script. So it does a few things, and that's what you're gonna wanna do. So you're gonna go here and you see this ID right here, the sheet ID. You're gonna wanna paste your own ID. So you're gonna go to this Google Sheet, and you're gonna try to navigate and look in the URL, and you see right here, right after the D, and then it's basically in between the D and the edit. You wanna copy this right here, okay? So I would just go ahead and copy that, bring that right here, and then just paste the sheet ID right here, and as you can see, it's already there. If you decide to name the sheet, which I recommend you just keep it to sheet 1, but if you decide to name the sheet something else, go ahead and just make sure that it matches whatever the name of the sheet is, and then that's it. You don't need to change anything. So this is made to create a timestamp, first name, last name, email, phone, UTM source, campaign, medium, and content. In the event where you decide to change something or potentially add something, you'd want to add it here, okay? So you want to create like another row, and then you use again the post data, then UTM, or post data, then whatever you want to add. I recommend that you leave that as is, just because if you change something, it might mess something up, or at least leave that as is, test it with your website, make sure that it works, and then once it works, then you can go ahead and tweak it. Once you've done that, you're going to click on deploy, new deployment, and then you see on the left side here, it says a web API, and there's a few other options. You're going to select on web app, and let me just select it again, web app. You're going to execute it as yourself, and then who has access, it needs to be set to anyone. And the reason for that is because you're not actually be the one sending the data to the Google Sheet. It's going to be Google Tag Manager. So it's going to send the data to the Google Sheet as you, but anyone will have access, and that's exactly what we want. Once you've done that, you're going to click on deploy. And what you're gonna do is you're gonna see the deployment ID and the URL. All we want is the web URL. So you're gonna click the copy button right here, and you're gonna save that somewhere. So I'm just gonna open up my notes. and you can't see it, but I just saved in my notes. So just save that somewhere, then you can hit done, and then that's it. It's possible that before deploying you had to save the project, so maybe just save the project if you haven't saved it and then deploy it, but that's it. So once you're here, there's nothing actually else that needs to be done with the Google Sheet. The next thing we want to do is create our server container. So I'm going to go to admin here, and I'm going to create a new server container. So again, I clicked on admin, I clicked the plus here at the top right, and then I'm just going to name this SS. SS stands for server side, by the way, and SS demo 2, and I'm going to click on server. Once I click create, I'm going to see two options. One, to automatically provision tagging server, and you feel free to do that, but if you do that, you're gonna have to work with Google, and the Google server is, like I said, more expensive and it's more technical to set up. That's why I strongly recommend Stape, and Stape also has a free trial, so that's why, again, I recommend Stape. So manually provision tagging server, you're gonna wanna copy this. I'm gonna go back to my Stape account, I'm gonna create a container, then SS demo 2, and then here I'm gonna add my configuration ID. So this is this ID right here, okay? And I'm pasting that right there, and then just select your server location. It can be anywhere, just select your server location that's like near you, and I'm gonna click the create container. This is where you can pick a plan. So if you're gonna be doing this for like marketing, attribution, and reporting, honestly, I recommend that you just go with the pro plan, I mean, it's just always gonna work, and trust me, it's gonna save you a lot of time in reporting, just having this right here, and you're gonna be able to make some pretty cool reports, and you can even connect it after that to like Google Data Studio, or there's a bunch of other services that like use Google Sheet to like make like studio report, like Looker Studio. So again, strongly recommend that you get on the pro plan. If you just wanna test it out, just go ahead with the free plan. I'm not going to pick a plan which automatically defaults to the free one because this is a demo and I've already have a bunch of Stape plans. So that is it. So now we actually have our server URL here. I recommend that you actually do one more thing. I'm not going to do it because it's a demo, but I recommend that you add your own custom subdomain. So let's say for us, our domain is Vertex Marketing Agency. So I could do Vertex Marketing Agency.com. And then you want to create a subdomain. So just, it can be anything. So SS stands for server side. It could be GTM, it could be banana. It's up to you. Just make sure it's a unique subdomain and it hasn't been taken yet. So ss.vertex marketing agency would be perfect for me. Then I can go here and select State Global CDN. And all I would have to do is put in those 3 records inside my DNS provider. So if you GoDaddy, Cloudflare, just put in those records, and then you can just hit verify. It might take 24 to 48 hours, and then it's gonna work, and you're able to actually use this versus their default one, which that's what I recommend that you do so that it becomes first party tracking. Now I'm just gonna copy this because again, this is a demo. I want to go back to my server container, right? So don't forget, we have a web container and a server container now. Go to admin, click on container settings, and then add a URL, and I'm just gonna add that URL right here, and then hit save. So if you are going with your custom subdomain, you just add your custom subdomain right here, and that's pretty much it for the dem. Actually, no, we have to add our template now. So you're gonna go to import container, choose container file. Now, if you remember in the folder, there was a server container template and a web container template. So I did a good job at naming them so we know exactly which one it is. So that's a server. So all I have to do is bring in the server here, click existing, default workspace, and then you want to merge. Make sure you always merge, do not overwrite. Then hit confirm. And once you do that, you're gonna get a few things. So you're gonna get this right here with all the code. And the cool thing is you actually don't need to change anything here. You're gonna get the trigger, and you're gonna get all my variables. So the cool thing with the server container is you actually don't need to change anything. It even has a data client for you. You actually, as soon as you imported that, you don't need to change anything. Actually, sorry, I lied. There's one thing you have to change, and the only thing you have to change here is the destination URL. So remember that URL that I made you copy from the Google Sheet? That's where you're gonna wanna add that right here. So that's it, paste that URL, then I'm gonna hit save, and that's it. You actually don't need to change anything here. You can even potentially go ahead and submit it. Now, what we want to do is we want to go back to our web container, and this is where we get into the fun stuff. We just simply have to change the user data so that it pulls in the first name, last name, email, and phone number properly, and that's pretty much it, honestly. Now we just need to change a few things here, but guys, we're almost done. So we have to go to admin and click on import container, and we're gonna do the same thing we did with the server. So go ahead and select the file. It's gonna be the web container file, existing, right? Then you're gonna obviously select the default workspace, and then you're gonna select merge, and then go ahead and import it. Really make sure that you select merge. If not, it's not gonna really work correctly. And go back to workspace, and this is when we want to just change a few things here. So we're going to start with variables. So email.js, first name.js, last name.js, and then we have phone.js. So those are all the variables that we want to change here. And actually there's one more, server URL. Everything that says update after import, you obviously have to update after import. Anything else you do not touch because it is going to work for your website. So to actually create Joe's custom JavaScript variable that pulls the first name, email, and phone number from the form, it's pretty simple. We actually just need to change a few things. So I've made the template. All you have to do on your end is just change the field name. So I've made this dummy landing page just for this demo. So I'm going to copy the URL. I'm just going to go here and paste it. And we can see it was connected. And all you have to do is click here in the form, then I'm gonna right click it, and I'm gonna select inspect. So I don't think you can see it from your screen here because I'm only sharing the window, but I'm right clicking it and I see the word inspect, then I'm clicking on it, and now it opens this up here, and we can actually see it because we clicked on it and we right clicked and clicked on inspect. Automatically it highlights in blue, so it changed the background to blue in terms of like where we are in the code, and that's actually where we want to be. So you see where it says placeholder, then name, and then there's a few other things here, but we actually want to select the name. So the name, this basically says that, hey, this field, the name is called first name, and it makes sense. But for you, it might actually be lead first name, maybe form underscore first underscore name, right? So it's not universal. It really depends on the way that the website was built. Maybe it's your form builder. So you want to locate the name field here. And just one thing I want to mention, in case you're using an embedded form, unfortunately, this will not work. So if you're using HubSpot form or anything like that, you're gonna wanna maybe just remove the first name, last name, email, phone number. And the reason for that is whenever the form is in a knife frame, you just can't track it with Google Tag Manager. But most of the time it's not, it's just like, you know, an element that you add, let's say from your WordPress site, or maybe it's custom HTML, and it can definitely be tracked at that point. So wanna select the first name, go right here, and you're gonna scroll down and locate first name. So I'm selecting the first name, and then all you have to do is put in that value here and then a value here. So you put it there twice, and that's it. So again, if it's form underscore first underscore name, then you want to put that there, and you want to put it also right here. Now let me just do the another one. I'll do the email just so that you clearly see how to do it. So again, clicking it, then right clicking it, and then just opening it up right here. And then I'm looking for the name. Oh, it's right here, right? So name, and then the value is email. So I'm going to copy email, go here under email, and then just paste it here. As you can see, it's already there, so I don't need to change anything. And again, you don't change anything else that doesn't say update after import. So only things that says update after import you change. So go ahead and do the other two, and you're gonna want to update this right here to your server URL. So I'm going to use the Stape server URL here, and that's the same one that I made you add inside your server container. So if you go to Stape, this is the URL I'm talking about. So I'm going to copy that and paste that there. For you, if you follow my recommendation and use your own custom subdomain, then this is where you want to, use HTTPS, then your custom subdomain. So you would go here and let's say put in your custom subdomain here. I'm just going to put in, oh, I didn't copy it. I'm just going to put in that Stape URL and then hit save, and then that's it. And I recommend that once you save things and you update it, just remove the update after import, just so that you know what you've done and what you haven't done yet. But that is pretty much it for the variables. The next thing you want to do is you want to move to triggers, and that's the last step, guys. So there's two triggers you want to change. One of them is the form button click, and the other one is the thank you page. So for form button click, you're going to go to your website where the form is, and if you've imported my template, if you just click here anywhere on the website, you should see a click, right? So we can see click number 8 now. Now I'm just gonna click on the button without actually adding anything, and it won't submit the form, but it's gonna show me what happens when a user submits the form. And I'm just gonna click right here, click the button, and if we hear click number 9, that's when the button click happened, right? Because we looked at it and we're at click 8. Now click on variables, and we can see the click text right here equals button. That's what we're gonna use as a trigger. So when someone clicks the button where the button text contains or equals button, then this means that they've entered their information, they wanna submit the information, they submit the button. And when it succeeds, meaning there's actual value, then it redirects to the thank you page, and that's when it sends a lead event. It's not a big deal if people submit the form button without actually putting their information. Sure, it's going to send the data to the data layer. So if we go here, you should see my information, right? So you can see first name, last name, and you can see all of my data is right here. And it's actually fine if they submit the button multiple times and there's no data in it, or maybe they just not complete, because sure, it's going to send it to the data layer, but it's only going to be the final data layer push, which is probably the one before they actually like land on the thank you page. That's going to send to the Google. That's going to be sent to the Google Sheet. So it's totally fine if they try to submit the form multiple times. So I'm going to use the button text button, and you're going to want to change it to whatever it is for your form. So the button on your form might be, I don't know, continue or start now, right? So you just want to change that text here. And that's one way to check to see what the text is. I recommend that you don't just go here and look at it and say, oh, it says button, that must be my click text. It's not always the case. I recommend that you actually click with GTM and actually see what the click text is, or you can inspect it and just look in the code. So that's it for that. So you want to save that, and then the last thing you want to do is add your thank you page URL here. So this is the only thing you'll want to change here. So the page URL, you do not need to change the lead cookie. That needs to be equal to true. So you're gonna go, I'm gonna go right here, and I'm gonna grab my thank you page URL. So again, I've made this just for this demo, so yours is probably gonna look a little bit nicer. It might say like your website URL, then thank you, and that's probably would be a better thank you page URL, but again, this is a demo, so I'm just gonna copy that now, and I'm pasting it here, and I can just simply save it now, right? And once you save it, probably just remove the update after import, just so you know it, you've completed that. But guys, that is it. So now we're at the final step, and it's actually just to test it. So we're gonna preview both the server and the web container, and I'm gonna just show you in real time that it works, and you're gonna you'll want to do the same thing on your end just to verify the data does get sent. So now, moment of truth, does this work? So what we're gonna do is actually right click this tab right here, you're gonna duplicate it. And we need both the server and the web container. And when you're testing this, always make sure that you have the server container open first. So I'm just gonna open up my server container, and I'm gonna hit preview. So if you set this up correctly, you're gonna see something like this. And if you've used your custom subdomain, you're gonna see your custom subdomain at the top here, right? So that's it. So that's all you have to do with the server container. Now we're gonna go back here, and this is the web container, and I'm gonna preview my website. So I'm just gonna click on preview, and I believe that's the URL for my landing page, and perfect. So now what we're gonna do is I'm just gonna fill it up with some dummy data. And please note that right now I don't have any UTM data attached to the URL, so it's only gonna be sending the first name, last name, email, and phone number. And honestly, that's probably what's gonna happen the majority of your time when when traffic is coming to your website. Like, you don't always have UTMs unless it's like a landing page specifically just for maybe your website traffic, but still it's gonna happen where the UTM gets lost somewhere, so you don't have anything. So it's totally fine. If you wanna test this with the UTM, just go ahead and add the UTM. You can use a tool called Google UTM Builder, and the way it works is you can just go here. So all you have to do here is put in your website URL, then you can put in the campaign source, the medium, the name, and then you can put in whatever campaign content that you want. Once you have that, it's going to show you a URL here, and that's what you can copy and preview that inside GTM. Okay, I'm going to skip that step. I know it works. I've tested it multiple times, and it's just a demo. But if you want to preview the UTMs, see that it works, you can do that as well. So once I'm here, I've already submitted my information. So there's a few things that are going to happen. When I click the button, it's going to send the data to the layer, and then once it's sent it to the data layer, it's now going to proceed to the next step, which is redirecting me to the thank you page. That's just a feature of my form. When I go to the thank you page, it's either going to send a lead event if I haven't been to the thank you page yet, and if I have been to the thank you page, it's actually not going to do anything, because again, we don't want to duplicate the data. And now that I'm thinking about it, it's possible that I visited my thank you page again, so maybe that lead cookie is already going to be there. But let's try it. So I'm going to hit on the button. So I hit the button. Now, if we look at number 12 here, that's when the data layer was sent. And I just want to make sure the data layer is pulling in nicely. Test Gmail, test. So that works. That's actually what I put in the form, right? Now, if we go here, do we have a form submission? If we go to tag, so the way you see where it gets sent is actually on DOM ready. And the reason we want to do it on DOM ready, because it's that's usually when all the fields and the code have loaded on the page. Container loaded, that would actually be too early, meaning if you're using custom JavaScript and pulling from data layers and all that fun stuff, it's possible that the code is just not ready when the page load, but it's kind of a bit technical. But so the lead tag will always be submitted on the DOM ready and not on the container loaded. And that's because we want to make sure that everything had the chance to load on a page in order to send the data, like the JavaScript that pulls in the first name, last name, email, and phone number. So DOM ready, and we can see here under tags, nothing was sent. So I'm thinking that's probably because there's a cookie on my browser. So let me go and take a look at it. And if you're doing this for the first time, most likely your cookie won't get there, but I've tested a few times, so that's probably why it's there. So I'm gonna go to application, and that's my website right here. And if we look here, the name of the cookie, I don't know if you remember, but it's lead, and we can see lead equals true. So that's probably why it didn't send anything to Google Sheet. And if we look at the Google Sheet here, you can see it works. So quick way to change that is to actually remove the cookie. And now if I reload the page, right? If I just reload the page, now it should send, right? So you can see it was actually able to send the code to the Google Sheet. And if we go right here, the data was sent. Like I said, I didn't send the UTM source, campaign, medium, or content. That's why it's not pulling up there. But if you add that to your URL, it's definitely gonna pass that information. And the cool thing is you get a little timestamp here. And guys, if you're seeing this, well, congrats. You've now created a custom tracking tool that's gonna pull the information from the form, like the user first name, last name, email, and phone number, and send it all with all the UTM data. And now you can do some pretty cool stuff. You can do like a record count. You could also connect it to a platform called Looker Studio. So Looker Studio. So that is a platform that uses Google Sheets, and you can create cool reports like line charts, like donut chart. So you can do lots of pretty cool things with this. And just to show you that the cookie thing now works, if I reload the page now, we can see the cookie is now there and it says true. And if we go to number 26 here, because that's the one that I just refreshed the page, we can see nothing was sent. And if we go to GTM, still one row, right? So I would have to delete the cookie again to then reload the page to now have another row here, which your users most likely won't be doing that. That's why, like I said, this is gonna be pretty accurate to actually see how many real leads you're potentially getting from Facebook, TikTok, GA4, or maybe just like, I don't know, Google Ads. So it's a pretty cool tool, guys. Hopefully you've learned a lot in this video, and I hope this wasn't too technical and you're able to follow along. I really spent a lot of time creating those tags, variables, and the Google Sheet template for you guys so that it makes it a little bit easier. But if you're able to implement this successfully, let me know in the comment section. And if you want me to make other videos just like this, let me know, or other videos about server-side tracking. I really love that kind of stuff, so let me know in the comment section. But guys, that is it for this video. Bye for now.